Shavua Tov. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Month of El, sponsored by Michal Ogans, by Josh and Marilyn Adler in memory of Marilyn's Ima Shifra Tzivia Bas Avram Yaakov Akon Vester Henshezal, and by Josh's Abba Yitzchak Ben Tzvi Zichrono Livracha, and Mindy Barad in honor of the birth of twin grandsons. And this week is sponsored anonymously in honor of all the holy Limud Torah being studied in Shirat David this El. We love you anonymously. We love anonymously. And Shoshana and Chaim Yudelman in honor of their daughter Libby's bat mitzvah. I think that's it for today. Okay. I'm going to pass these out. I only have, if you have the sheets from last week, obviously we just began, whoever needs. And we're going to go forward today, Bezrat Hashem, with Rav Ruvain Sasson's Kumi Ori, this beautiful Torah describing. Remember, there's the Torah of history, there's the Torah of the future, then there's Torah of present, the Torah of what's going on right now. And this is the Torah of what's going on right now. This is in a fascinating way. It's a fascinating access that we have of tuning in to that which is actually taking place right now. Lo yuman, pashut lo le'amin. Very fast, what we've started describing was the meaning of the word komimiyut. Komimiyut le'artzenu. Komimiyut means two komot. There's two stages, right? There's two levels. You all know the chief Rebbetzin of Yerushalayim? Yeah? Of the world. Why am I limiting it to Yerushalayim? What's wrong with me? Sister J. So what are these two komot, these two stages? This is a beautiful concept we started speaking about last week. And Rav Sasson showed us this is mamish throughout all the Nevi'im, but specifically through the Navi Yecheskel, which we're going to continue learning today, that these two komot, these two stages, these two levels of Geula take place. First, the komat al-guf, and then komat al-neshama. First, there's the body that gets redeemed, the redemption of the body, and then there's the redemption of the neshama, of the soul. And as we saw last time, this is how it's brought down in the Sfarim, that first of all, it has to be that the body returns, the physical body returns, and then after that comes the spiritual return as well. And we were speaking last Sunday, about, do we have to wait for the whole body of Am Yisrael to come back to Eretz Yisrael for the spiritual koma to take place, for the spiritual element of redemption to come back? And it was very interesting, because as much as people said, no, it's both, kilu, first us, first the individual, then the rest, the question was kind of left open. It's very interesting. The question was kind of left open, and when we think in the big context of Geula, kind of left open. Sometimes we, in a good way, we get very caught up in what's happening around us, which we should really be, very much focused on what's happening here in Eretz Yisrael. But just yesterday, I saw this katava about two Chabadniks that are shluchim of the Rebbe in Sri Lanka. You can imagine there's a Chabad house in Sri Lanka. Why would there be what do we understand? Why would there be a Chabad house in Sri Lanka? And word got out that these twin Israelis became Nazirim, monks 15 years ago in a rainforest in Sri Lanka, in the jungle. And what's so amazing is that these two Chabadniks, this has happened in the week of, did anyone hear about this? It's an amazing story. I saw a whole video about it. These two Chabadniks found out, they had one piece of information as to where these twin Israeli brothers, I think they're identical, these twin brothers are in a rainforest in the jungle, living in a cave in the jungle in Sri Lanka, and they set out on their path, and they actually found these two. So on the news, they asked the shliach, they said to him, what was it like, that first moment? He said, well, the first second they saw us, they freaked out. They mamish freaked out. But then we started talking, and he said, and the Chabadnik said, Shema, and then we discovered that these twins were born on Tisha B'Av, and you know who's born on Tisha B'Av, right? So when I was thinking about that, And I was thinking about the words like we were talking about last night before Slichas, Meloch al kol ha'olam kulo michvodecha. It makes us think a little bit deeper about the concept of komemiyut, the first komata guf and then komata neshama. What does this exactly mean? Does it literally entail that all of the Jewish body is home? Or how much of the Jewish body has been? That's what we were speaking about last week. We were beginning to discuss it. Now, what we're going to be continuing today is now we're going to describe what's really what the goof. Let's say for a second that it's not dependent on the whole Jewish body, but at least a huge chunk of it that comes back home. So then what's waiting? What's waiting for that piece of that, for that lump of bones, right? Because basically that's what it was like after being years in Galut. All you got to do is take a picture of any survivor in like 1945. You see it's just basically a lump of bones, right? Somehow it's just beyond our understanding. Only Mashiach will be able to explain to us how anyone could have, kept it together. But now the question is, so now let's say like this. Now there's a body. There's an imagery of a body that's back home. Aval achshav ma. Now what? Right? Now mamash what? So on the pages that you have in front of you, it's Pei Aleph. The beginning in the Sefer, it's Pei Aleph. And we're going to continue and see now the next shlav of what the second level of komemiyut means. Beseder? Komemiyut. את היסוד הזה נוכל לראות גם בחזון העצמות היבשות, המובא גם הוא בספר יחזקאל. So this is now we're going to another chapter in Yechezkel. Last week we were learning Yechezkel Perek Lamed Vav, which basically speaks about removing the heart of stone so that there could be a heart of flesh, right? That was the beginning process. And now we're in a different process. Now we're speaking about something else. And this is the famous vision of Yechezkel's dry bones that many of us have heard of over the years, but now we're going to learn the pnimius of it. Yechezkel Lamed Zayin. These are beautiful words. V'nibeti kasher tzuveti, v'hi kol kehi nav'i v'hi nirlash v'tikrevu atzamot etzem el atzmo. I prophesied as I was commanded, and the voice basically was guiding me to see that there's a tumult. Bones are gathering each to the other one. V'ra'iti v'hine alehem gidim uvasar Allah. V'yikrem alehem or milemala. And I see that these bones have gidim and basar. Gidim are sinews, right? And basar and flesh. But what's amazing, he says, ve'ruach en bahem. The Navi says this just mamash as clearly as possible. But you know what they don't have? You know what these bones don't have? They have flesh. They have sinews. They have whatever other words were used before. But they don't have ruach. The ruach en bahem. Vayomer elai hinabe el ruach hinabe ben adam ve'amarta el ruach. Prophesy to the spirit, to the wind. But here means the ruach, and I obviously we live in a world when you say spirit, you got to be careful, obviously, but you understand the context of what we're talking about over here. Ko amar Hashem Elokim, me'arba ruchot boi haruach ufchi ba'harugim ha'ele v'yichyu. Come, ruach, come and blow your life. Put your life into these bones and resurrect them. V'hinabeti kasher tzivani v'tavo bahem haruach. The vision is, and I prophesied as I said, Cheskel says, and the Ruach comes, Vayichyu vayamdu al raglehem chayil gadol me'od. And behold, this lump of bones, which was a body, now the second level of resurrection is that Ruach is infused within this body, and it's the Ruach that gets the lump of bones to get it together and stand up and exist. This is the second level of the Komata Geula. This is the second level of Komata Geula. Now, I could, and I will, I'm gonna ask a question, but I want to just be very, very specific. When Yechezkel Hanavi is speaking about Ruach, and obviously you could imagine where Rav Sasson is going to be taking this to, what do you think that means? What do you think it means this shlav of now that a bunch of us are back in Eretz Yisrael, Ruach is missing. Now the Ruach has to come out. What do you think that means? Everyone's scared to say the wrong answer. The wrong answer is the one you think I want to hear. Just saying it. That's the wrong answer. What could be? What does this mean? And now this koma shniya is ruach that comes into the body. What does that mean? Consciousness. Yafeh. What else? Spirituality. What else? Hargasha. Feeling. Ma'od?
To drive deeper.
Like a drive.
This is now like, come on, now it's like real.
100% like a, just to say oomph. I like oomph. Go with oomph. It's a good one. Oomph is better. Oomph. That's chazak me'od. This is a tachlit, a vision, a purpose. Now it's not just like, let's be alive, l'shem, just not being dead. Which is what people had to make sure. I heard an amazing interview also with the Shliach Chabad, interestingly, Erev Tisha B'Av this year on the radio. I think I shared it with you, maybe with some of the Chevra, that he said that in the war, when you were singing like the famous Ani Mamin, right? So when someone would sing Ani Mamin in the war, what were they really tachlis thinking about at that moment? Not everyone, because we don't know. Staying alive was really the thing. Just not being here, right? But now we're in an era. We're living in a world. It's like no. We're saying we're not just saying I want to stay alive. It's like we're really thinking about this vision and purpose and where we really want to head to. This describes more the second level of Geula, the Yechezkel Hanavi is speaking about. While we're in Galut, which is likened, like we said, to a graveyard, we don't have the luxury to be thinking like that. But once the Galut mentality and the Galut physicality ceases to be what I know and what I work with, so then I begin to have the ability to actually mamish think like that, to really think in those terms, which is something so. I was sharing with the Chevra last night a little bit about I still don't remember which daughter it was because it was so early in the morning. But my daughter's like talking about my father as the Kohen Gadol. They really think like that. That's a real, hopefully we do too. But there really is the perception of this is what they're going to be seeing, this is what they're going to see in their lifetime. And that's why every time we have a baby that's born in the shul, it's not just that she give her parents nachas, that we always say that her eyes or his eyes should witness to see the coming of the great day. That they, b'mash be'enehem, they will be the ones, they will let to see everything we've been davening for. And we should be part of it as well. So, yeah, if it was a men's shir, I'd have you all scream amen right now. No. Just saying. Okay. So Rav Sasson is saying like this. Look after the Navi. Look how Rav Sasson develops this idea of now the Ruach. Okay, the Ruach, which is mamash where we're at right now. Okay, just in a nutshell, let's say right now that the whole world is in this room, and all of Am Yisrael is in Eretz Yisrael. Let's just talk like that for a few minutes, okay? בשלב הראשון, העצמות שהן עם ישראל קרבות ומתחברות זו לזו. Did anyone here ever spend time in a what's it called when you make aliyah, the Merkaz Klita? Do they still have those? It's true. But usually the Merkaz Klita, you only have a few years. Here it's a Merkaz, it's like an eternal Merkaz Klita. We had one in Ranana. There's no, they still have it? They still is? There was Merkaz Canada, right? And Yerushalayim was one of them. V'Aseret, we had in Ranana a very, very active one. There was because Ranana was just, non-stop. Ranana was non-stop back and forth, constantly. There was Olim there still is. The end of Herzl Street in Ranana, there was a Merkaz Klita. And a lot of my friends, when they made Aliyah, they started off there, a lot of the families. And it's like, I was thinking, it's like you have all these goofs, mitchabrot zo. I remember there was like Chaver there from that family, from Holland, together with the family from Buenos Aires and a family from New Brunswick, right? Ma kesher, everything, but not on the surface, right? So you have all these bodies that are coming together, right? And he says, that's the beginning. Ze kibbutz hagaluyot. Second line. אחרי שהעצמות מתחברות, הן קורמות עור וגידים. And then when the bones come together, so what do they basically then begin to develop and produce? עור וגידים and skin, right? שהם עדיין חלק מהגוף. והכוונה לשפע ולברכה החומריים שמופיעים בארץ ישראל. And this alludes to the abundance that we have here in Eretz Yisrael of materialistic things, and like we spoke about last week, and it's so true. There's such a crazy abundance. Whether alavai everyone should afford, and there should be parnasa tova l'chol Am Yisrael, even flow b'ezrat Hashem. Of course, Cook speaks about this. Cook speaks about that when tshuva is really in its right place, then there won't be business class on planes. I always think about that. It's not business class. Everything is business class, or everything. Hopefully, not everything is cattle. Yeah, there is no first class anymore, but everything is just kidu be'emet. Everything's in its right place. But there is such a shefa here today. Do you remember the first few weeks of that thingy? Corona, right? So remember the lines outside the makolet for eggs or for milk? Huh? Toilet paper.
Toilet paper in America.
Here too is also that. But you have to understand, you go back 60, 70 years, it's even like 50 years ago here. The shefa that exists here is beyond our understanding. And you think it's just it's such an integral part of the Geula. Bemet. The fact that there's such an abundance here is speaking about the first koma of Geula. That's the first shlav of komemiyut. Hakoma rishona. That's the first shlav. כי המציאות בגלות הייתה צפד עולם על עצמם יבש היה כעץ. This is a very interesting pasuk from Eicha, Lamentations. I was trying to translate this. I found the translation. This is what it says. Their skin is shriveled upon their bones, it's withered, and it becomes like a stick. We've seen that with our own eyes, nachon? Have Shoshana take you on one of her her tours of Yad Vashem. So we've seen this, nachon? We've seen this. Am Yisrael lo haya klum bagalut. We had nothing in Galus. ובעת החזרה לארץ ישראל, הבשר מתחיל לגדול ולהתפתח, ויש בו חיות. He's not even speaking about spirit yet. But he's saying the physical growth and the physical development of our bodies is actually a sign of the beginning of the redemption, which is very interesting to look at it like that. He's saying, no, these are, don't down it. Don't belittle that zchut that you have in abundance. That actually is a very, very serious piece of the puzzle, which we're all, again, regardless of people's pockets. I'm not talking about people's pockets right now, but about availability bichlal. You see, back, my father speaks to me about what Eretz Yisrael was like, even when he made Aliyah 1962, in terms of what was, what we had. Efo, kidding me? The shefa, what we speak about today, what we have here, the lo yuman, the things we don't understand. Our children and many of us are already being born or making aliyah into a reality that was not the reality at all. But we have to remember this, and Rav Drukman, Zichrono Livracha, speaks about this. We learned this one year in Yom Ha'atzmaut, right after davening, that one of the greatest misfortunes of anyone that's born into Eretz Yisrael of today is that they're born into Eretz Yisrael of today when it comes to Yom Ha'atzmaut, in order to feel the halal, in order to feel the greatness of the day. We just don't understand it. And it's not our fault. It's like we refused to be born 80 years ago, and we decide we agreed to, whatever that means. This is our chelek. It is what it is. Betoma shlav hazeh, next paragraph, at the end of this shlav of the first koma of Geula, adayin veruach en bahem, and that's so true. Even today, even though it's getting much, much better. And I want to credit the incredible world of Israeli musicians for really, mamash, playing such a pivotal role in changing the mishva'ah, the equation over here. Saying with all the abundance that we have, we still are lacking this level of ruach, even though it is shifting very much. But Rav Sasson saying it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be only after the shefa is filled within the country, within the land, then rak az ba haruach. Only then the ruach comes. Yes.
But there is a problem with shefa, which we read in Kriyat Shema, and about shmita. Like once you have the shefa, there's pachot chipus, and you have to remember where it comes from. I feel like we're living in a time with so much shefa that people just become. I'm afraid that it's not going to lead to ruach.
That's why we have. I think he agrees with you. I think every tzaddik, any open mind, any deep person would agree with you, and that just makes the avodah of hafatzat haruach that much more crucial and not just optional. But exactly what you're saying. See, when there's no shefa, so that usually causes me to call out and scream out. You're right. But when I have what my physicality basically needs, more or less, it doesn't push me to really call out for things. That's so much more a reason why the inyan of ruach within our living here, within our learning, within our experience of life here is that much crucial, because no one's going to be left crying for anything if there's just a complete abundance. But that's why it's only the first koma. That's why it's only the first koma. בתום השלב הזה עדיין ואין רוח בהם. That doesn't happen yet. רק אז באה הרוח. הקומה הרוחנית. הנשמה האלוקית מופיעה על עם ישראל רק כשהוא כבר גוף שלם ובנוי. So the godly soul appears on the people of Israel only when the body is completely formed, he says. כפי שהעובר מתפתח עם כל האיברים, just like the ubar, the fetus, develops with all of its limbs, ורק אז הנשמה נזרקת בו. And only then the soul is kind of thrown into the fetus. הקומה הרוחנית תופיע אחרי שהקומה הגשמית תתחיל להתבסס. This spiritual level of the ruach will only appear after, these are interesting words, הקומה הגשמית תתחיל להתבסס, when basically what we're experiencing now. I mean, I don't know, I just don't have any other words to say it. When basically on a physical level, there is what there is in order to be, which you can't say that there isn't now in Eretz Yisrael. Anyone that, you just can't say it. We can get cynical right now and sarcastic, but like, what isn't there here besides, like I said, cynical, besides Target and those things, right? Housing. No, there's housing, it's just not here in Efrat. There's plenty of housing. Israel's big. There's a whole thing called the Golan and the Negev, like Eretz Yisrael is big. There is, but meaning in order to lead Kayem. That's what I mean, in order to lead Kayem.
It's the fundamental difference between needs and wants.
Mamash.
We have all our needs.
It,
Except for
we really have, it's in the picture of komot, of the komotayim, of the komemiyot, the shlav harishon is basically more or less there, on a very, very, like just pshat level, right? The pshat of it, I'm on a very simple level. Umamshicha nevuah u'megiah al tachlita. And now we're continuing with the prophecy of the chazon ha'atzamot ha'yeveshot, of the dry bones. Now look how Yechezkel Hanavi develops this even further. Hina ani poteach et kivrotechem. I'm going to open up your graves. Ve'eleti etchem mikivrotechem. I'm going to lift you out of your graves. Ami, my people. Ve'eveti etchem el admat Yisrael. And I'm going to bring you to the land of Eretz Yisrael. Mamash, this is what's been happening in the last generation. V'idatem ki ani Hashem. You'll know I'm Hashem. B'fitchi et kivrotechem. When I open up your graves, u'ba'aloti etchem mikivrotechem ami. And when I lift you up, my nation, out of your graves. V'natati ruchi bachem. And I will place my spirit in you. V'chiyitem. And you'll be alive. V'enachti etchem al admatchem. And I will place you on your land. V'yidatem ki ani Hashem dibarti v'asiti ne'um Hashem, and you will know who I am. Let's see I mean, honestly, this shir could just be reading through Yechezkel. Like it's just the words themselves are so alive. They're so alive. Le'orech kol shlav chazarat Am Yisrael la'aretz. Well, throughout the whole journey of Am Yisrael coming back to Eretz Yisrael, hu adayin eno yodea mi cholel et hageula. He still doesn't know who brought about the redemption. This is so interesting, nachon? This is an amazing thing. He's saying and it's so true. He's saying throughout this whole period, as before the Ruach comes into the body's experiencing Geula, but there's all these fakers about the existence of God and that this is Yad Hashem. Isn't that amazing that that's exactly the parsha we've been in for the last 75 years? Even more, the last 100 years. Until the Ruach is in the body is experiencing a level of redemption. It's just not certain. It can't say, oh, this is Hashem that's running the show. It's such an interesting thing.
Because it's the setter?
Sorry?
Because there's Esther?
Because there's?
Esther?
Well, without Ruach,
You can't
even though you may be living Geula, but you're still living in a certain element of complete concealment. Meaning, without Ruach, you may live your whole life living in a state of redemption, but you'll be like a mashesh ba'afela, like a person living in the dark. Yeah, and it's such an interesting thing because we see this. So what he's describing is literally what's been the story here for so long. Yeah, Chana?
It's like the Ruach wipes out the ego, or any voice that says you can't do this, or you're not dreaming, or this is all me. It's just all that Hashem factor.
Mamash, 100%. Legamre. And that's why you have this, what we say, kochi ve'otzem yadi asari tachai leze. You have, what are you talking about? Don't talk to me. I gave my life for it's true you gave your life, and who are we to say a word, but Hashem gave you the privilege to give your life for the land. And that's the whole shift of consciousness. You said awareness and consciousness. When we're talking about Ruach, it's like the Gvura we've seen for so many years. It's the Gvura that we've seen, when you're going to open your mouth before someone that, God forbid, gave a son, a father, and a child, an arm for the country. Mapitom. But now's the shlav of the Ruach, because just continuing that route, you could live for dorei dorot, for so many generations, with that first shlav of Geula and completely be unaware of a Hashem consciousness. So therefore, and it's all ego, it's all the Gvura, it's all me. And you see sometimes, I'm sorry for saying this, but you see some of the great generals in the army or in the security forces, then they leave their official jobs where they're not allowed to say anything, obviously, while they're under, they have a tafkid. Then they say these are the people that were in charge of the security of Yid in Eretz Yisrael. Then they start saying what they actually think. And it's startling, it's frightening. Without the Hashem factor, it's startling. But they are so plugged into the first shlav of Geula. That's what's so funny. Like they are so plugged into the first level of Geula, of the guf, of the shefa, of safety, v'chulei, and everything. It's an unbelievable thing. Yeah.
How do you explain the parallel between the Chilonim and the Dati'im?
Different words.
People who seem to perceive the Ruach are people who are there yet, but how is this coming in stages? You said first the Chomer, and then the Ruach. It's confusing, this part.
Explain your question a little bit deeper. I think I know what you're saying, but explain it a little bit clearer to everyone. I dafka don't. Yeah.
Since the Kol Medina, there have been people who believe and perceive Ruach Hashem, and people who don't. And last week when you asked the question, I thought you were saying, does every individual need to perceive the Ruach? I didn't realize you were talking about everyone have to make Aliyah first.
No, I was asking if that was the question. In order for the Ruach to kind of go into the dry bones, does the body have to be intact? I mean, does it have to be fully?
I thought more, do you think Geula can come before everyone perceives the Ruach?
That it. Oh. I see. Very good. Very good.
Because
Very good.
it's hard to live, especially now when there's
Very
so
good.
much tension between forgive me, Datiim and Chinuch, because there's so much antagonism. There's
Yeah.
so much
No, I know.
especially now because they're afraid of Kfiyat Dati.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid we're going to force the Ruach onto them.
Right, but so that's why I think that you basically answered your own question, is that the Ruach being forced onto anybody is not Ruach. That's not Ruach. nachon?
So I wish I want to reassure them, but don't worry, there's no Geula Kfiyat.
I know, but you know how you reassure them the best? Is that when you become a mamash, an embodiment yourself of the Ruach of Geula. So on the level, like Lori, this is Lori here? Lori's here, right? This answers your question of last week. The way you answered it, I think, is that if I really want to spread the Besorah of the Ruach, of the second level of Geula, then I myself, mamash, have to become this complete sinor, this complete conduit of Ruach, which mimela will be contagious, right? It will be. Without telling them, whatever that means, without speaking to anyone else on any level. You know, your holy husband, Matityahu, and I asked me, he started to learn with me last week about how do we start doing that, Lemaisa. Like, how do we literally, this is the avoda of today. How, Lemaisa, do we actually live like that? Where we find the Ruach in others, and that's what we focus on. So and he was asking, Mamash, from such a deep place, like, I want to live like this because he's in the work scene in Tel Aviv, I want to live like this. He's out there in the world. It's not in that bubble, this Shirat David bubble, the Zayit bubble. There are people that actually leave the Zayit once in a while, right? Leave the building, right? They leave the building. There's a world, there's a whole thing out there, nachon?
The actions, if a person focuses that their actions should always be a Kiddush Hashem in any situation, especially situations when you're not where you feel people need a little uplifting in a Ruach.
Nachon? We daven for that every single day. Or we should be davening for it every single day.
I think it goes back to what Hannah said that, I think she said about lowering the ego, right? So like realizing that you do believe that you're correct, right? Because we do have opinions, but at the other hand, like Hashem is the one who only knows who's correct. So if we lower our ego, then we really have that Ruach in us to be able to exemplify.
Meaning there's no room for the Ruach to be blown into this body if you're consuming all the space. It's like there has to be a certain shlav. Now, this is what's interesting, is that when we were in the graveyard of Galut, you know what else wasn't there? You know what else wasn't? There was no ego either, because you're dead. So ego is only a result of the beginning of Geula. You understand how wacky this is? The only reason there is some kind of an ego to the Yiddish experience today is because I'm part of something big. It's such a catch-22. It's such a catch-22.
But didn't Moshe Rabbeinu warn that this would happen? We would become fat, and Yeshua and all this. And that's when it's been prophesied. That's going to happen.
There's no chidush. This is amazing because he's going to get to this now, based on the parsha we just had. There's no chidush about what's going on today. It's not like, oh my God, could you believe this is happening?
It's always
Yes. You follow the book, if you follow it's all there. There's no chidushim as to what's going on today. None. I just want to now go back inside. The top of Pei Bet. Le'orach kol shlav ha'chazarat Am Yisrael la'aretz hu adayin eino yodea mi cholel et ha'geula. That's how we got to this whole thing. Throughout this whole shlav of his coming back to Eretz Yisrael, the Am still doesn't know who is mecholel et ha'geula. Mecholel, who's the cause? Who's behind the whole thing? הרוח האלוקית היא שמבחה בעומק העומקים של עם ישראל ומובילה אותם לארץ ישראל מבלי שידעו מי עומד מאחורי התהליכים. The godly spirit is so humble that it is the one that is doing everything without making, we would want it to change, we would want it that it should be done in a way that it's clear where it's coming from, but that it is the one that's driving everything, the whole movement of redemption, without us even knowing clearly that it's the godly spirit that's doing this. Rak basof ne'emar, only at the end of the prophecy, like Yechezkel just said to us. Then it says, V'idatem ki ani Hashem, and you will know that I am Hashem, but only at the end. Remember those psukim, if you look at the page before? I think it only shows up at the end over there, right? Yeah. Look at the last pasuk, and the pasuk Yudalit. Only after V'natati ruchi bachem. No, it also says before that when they open the kvarim. Interesting. It says when I open the kvarim, you'll know I'm Hashem, and then when you... Yafeh. So, Yafeh. So the da'at of Hashem, that's very good. So the da'at of Hashem only happens once you're here, and it fully happens when the Ruach comes inside. This is so interesting. So the next page, the end of the first paragraph, Rak basof ne'emar v'idatem ki ani Hashem. Acharei shetitbases hamadrega ruchanit. So then, before we were talking about the hitbasesut of the koma gufanit, now we're talking about after spiritually there's a shefa, and we have what we have, yitbarer ki ani Hashem dibarti v'asiti. Only after spiritual level it'll be clear it is me Hashem that has been talking and have been doing the whole thing. Lemaaseh, this is what I wanted to get to today. Davar ze mofia kvar b'Torah. This is already broad value. It's good you're bringing this up. He's just taking us to another place. It's our parsha. We just learned this Shabbos. This is actually already appears in the Torah. Parashat Nitzavim. Sham metu'eret kol hagalut hakasha she'atida lavo al Am Yisrael. Where there it's described the whole heavy exile that's going to befall Am Yisrael. U'le'achar miken kotevet haTorah et shlavei haGeula. And afterwards, the Torah writes the psukim of redemption. I just want, when we learn these psukim, it's really cool to read it with a smile, because basically you're reading your own story. It's a very important way to learn Torah, to learn Tanakh, right? No, 2,000 years no one could learn Torah like this. We have the privilege to learn Torah like this. So let's learn these psukim. This is just an amazing thing. Just said it on Shabbos. It's like, really, it should be that Shul on Shabbos, everyone should, maybe it was raining, everyone should have been like this. Just like this. I just want to read the psukim, okay? והיה כי יבואו עליך כל הדברים האלה, הברכה והקללה, אשר נתתי לפניך, והשבות על לבביך בכל הגויים אשר ידחך השם אלוקיך שמה. ושבת עד השם אלוקיך ושמעת בקולו, ככל אשר אנוכי מצווך היום אתה ובניך, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך. ושב השם אלוקיך את שבותך וריחמך, ושב וקיבצך מכל העמים אשר הפיצך השם אלוקיך שמה. If we went around the room right now and I asked you each to tell me where your great-grandparents lived, then it would make us, these psukim would make us smile in such a tremendous way. Mamash?
I have to just share something that Debbie and Rav Shlomo Katz shared yesterday when we had a share. She said that the pasuk Hey, Hashem Elokecha Haaretz Asher Yoshua B'techa is the 5,780th pasuk in the Torah, which is the year 1948, 5708.
Wow, that's pretty freaky. But not. It makes perfect right. And this is such a beautiful. These words we know these words so beautifully from the tefillah we say for Eretz Yisrael. If you're two monks living in Sri Lanka in the rainforest, in the jungle over there, משם יקבצך השם אלוקיך ומשם ייקחך. והביאך השם אלוקיך אל הארץ אשר ירשו אבותיך וירשת והיטיבך והרבך מאבותיך. Those words are very interesting. The last words here, I never noticed it. God will bring you to the land which your parents inherited, וירשת, and you will inherit it, והיטיבך, and he will, והיטיבך והרבך מאבותיך. What does that mean? It's mamash the first shlav of the Geula, because he's basically saying there's going to be such an abundance, so much more than your parents ever had. The inheritance of the land was through them, granted, but the shefa, the abundance that you're going to have, There's going to be so much more. That's one way of learning it, that it'll be so much more than what was. But we could also say, no. Me avotecha. It's from the zchut avot that there's such a hatava ve'ribui. Whichever, they're both beautiful. Ad kan metuar hashlav harishon. Till here, description of the first shlab, shekolel et hashiva la'aretz, which concludes within it the return to the land, kibbutz galuyot, the incoming of gathering of exile, v'sigsug kalkali v'chomri be'eretz Yisrael, and this incredible what's that? Prosperity on a financial level, but now that's the beginning of a mikan, and then the Nitzavim continues. Mikan mamshicha haTorah lashlav haba, and now we go to the next level. And what's the next level? And this is the nikudah. This is the point of this sefer. Umal Hashem et Elokecha. Now the famous Rashi Tevot of Elul. Et levavcha ve'et levav zar'echa. Le'ahava et Hashem Elokecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha leman chayecha. Meaning, the whole purpose of this whole ordeal, which has been going on for so many years, is to come to a place that there is cardiac circumcision that takes place. You remember that story I told you so many times? Remember about Toby? That's who we are. This is what we're here for. We're all here. This is the point of it all. This is the point of it all. That's why, I have to... It's a very sensitive topic. Obviously, it's the pasha we're dealing with everywhere. But people that say that it's enough that we're just here, according to these, it's not true. Not according to our opinion, according to what Yechezkel Navi says, according to Pasha Nitzavim says, it's not true. It's just not true. It's not. Talk about, like Marilyn, you said when I said the word Ruach, you said purpose. That's not true. The purpose is not to be here. That's not that. That's the pride and nationality of different countries. Even though I never met like a really proud Argentinian, like in its essence. But if there was, it would have to do with living in Argentina, right? That's what it probably have to do. Canadian. I've been talking about them so much lately because I fell in love with them this last summer. Mamash. So naim, such mamash. It was such an oneg. It was such a pleasure to. But again, the pride, you see the flag. The purpose is let's just do Canada. Let's just be nice. It used to be like that in America too. Now I have no idea what America is. None of us do. I have no idea what it is. Any musag mazeh. I don't want to get into that right now, but I'm just saying like this. Our inyan, our whole thing of coming back here, is to experience these psukim we just read right now. Umal Hashem Elokecha et levavcha ve'et levav zarecha le'ahava et Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha leman chayecha. We are back here. The purpose, the goal, the vision is to experience loving God. That term was hijacked by other religions, I know. We are restoring it back to where it belongs, to feel that Hashem loves me and I love Hashem, which sounds like Ani ledodi vedodi li. The tshuva that we do this is the tshuva that we're doing. See, we're not doing tshuva over bad things in the time of Elul. We're doing tshuva over good things that should be done much deeper and better. So of course it's good I should say all back. That we're back. We're building Eretz Yisrael. But the way we build Eretz Yisrael, that much infinitely deeper, more spiritual, with the Ruach playing such a role. That spirit, that love, in order le'ahava. I was learning a mimer from the Slonimer last week with Jonah. I was with Jonah once a week, with Jonah Brook, and the mimer we were learning last week was, You notice that in Parashat Nitzavim, there's 3 times the Torah tells us the whole purpose of the whole thing is le'ahava et Hashem Elokecha. It says it 3 times. And the Shaila Slonim says is like, why did he leave it till Dvarim? Like, why couldn't he throw in the love bombs throughout Reshit, Shmot, Beikar? Why are you leaving it to Mishneh Torah? It shows up all the places. Le'ahava, le'ahava, le'ahava. It's a whole beautiful thing, build up there. But here it says that everyone's so focused on tshuva all the time. But where and when does tshuva take place? So look at the bottom paragraph. Olema psukim sheikar hatshuva te'aseh davka le'achar ha'aliyah la'aretz. It's unbelievable. I can't believe we're reading that we're here today. It's like such an interesting thing that I didn't plan it like this. This happens a lot with this lean with the pnimius, like exact, like the pasuk v'ata noten lahem et ochlam be'ito. Hashem gives us what we need at exactly the right moment. Olema psukim. What does it mean? The psukim are showing us that the ikar of tshuva will be done dafka after coming home to Eretz Yisrael. Hatalich shel milat halev, the process of the circumcision of the heart, of the opening up of the heart. Hasarat orlat halev, removing the covering, what's been covering our hearts. Hasarat harichuk v'anikur ben Am Yisrael Hashem, and removing the distance. Nikur, what's the right word in English? Alienation. It's probably a good one. There's a whole thing now people are big on. I have a friend that's very involved in this. Nikur hori. It's when there's a Chalila, there's, something bad happens with the parents, then one side gets unfairly shechted. The nikur hori, there's like alienation that takes place only on one side. Hasarat harichuk v'nikur ben, but this year we're talking about between what? Ben Am Yisrael Hashem. When is it going to happen? Yitrachesh acharei kibbutz hagaluyot. Lori, back to you. What are we saying? He's saying it's great to do the whole avodah on a pnimi level, and you have to. But the Torah is describing it that it only happened after kibbutz galuyot. The tangent is burning right now in my head, but I'm dafka into the tshuva right now and continue.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're starting off at the bottom, and where we're saying
that's good.
Things, and we're moving up to the top level of self-actualization, transcendence, when we're ready to open up and see who we're really supposed to be and who we're really supposed to be connected to.
That's very good. Bless you. Well, that's the thing. Is like that's very. What you're saying is I think about all the time. Is like any taina that I feel like they have on us from Shemaim about, why wasn't this the avoda? And I'm thinking like, have we had a second to breathe since we started kibbutz galuyot? Like be'emet, have we had a second to breathe? No. It's a chutzpahdik thing to say, but like Lamaisa, I always think like, wow. All these Torahs would be so beautiful if that's what was, if we always say, if only I had the time, like on a klal level, a national level, if only I had the time, yeah, of course. To do all this work, spiritual detoxing out in Bereshit and down there in Mitzpeh Ramon all day long is halavai. Halavai. With all the shefa that we have, there's still this thing being called protecting my life here, that is still part of the program, which he's gonna obviously address how that fits into the whole picture. So just have to end this shlav over here. But kach mamshicha Torah leta'er, the Torah continues to describe after this whole process of how he showed the Geula and the mila of the lev. ונתן השם אלוקיך את כל העלות האלה על אויביך ועל שונאיך אשר ידפוך. Amen. Ken yhi ratzon. That means all the curses. Everything should go on to those that are trying to end our lives. It will go on our enemies. And we shouldn't even have to be involved in it, Bezrat Hashem. There's an important Rashi Tevos of Elul that I say every year, and it's around now. It's like really important. None of us want to be involved in bloodshed. None of us want to have anything to do with, those of us that have gotten guns the last few years or are applying for it. That's nothing any of us want. And we're forced to such a mitziyut. in Parashat Bechukotai it says, "V'naflu lifneichem oivechem lecharev." That means that when we're in one with the word of Hashem, our enemies will fall on their swords. That means I don't do anything. What is the? That's the Rashi Tevot Elul. V'naflu lifneichem oivechem lecharev. That spells out Elul. That if tshuva is kmo shetzarich, then all those things that mamash are such enemies to me throughout the year, if my Elul's right, then my enemies will fall on their own swords. And that's what the pasuk is saying over here. Next pasuk, ואתה תשוב ושמעת בקול השם, ועשית את כל מצוותיו אשר אנוכי מצווך היום. והותירך השם אלוקיך בכל מעשי ידיך, בפרי בטנך ובפרי בהמתך, ובפרי אדמתך לטובה, כי ישוב השם לסוס עליך לטוב, כאשר שש על אבותיך. What a description. What a description here of the beauty that's waiting for us. When? כי תשמע בקול השם אלוקיך, לשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו הכתובה בספר התורה הזה. Everything that's written here in this Torah, when that becomes part of what you do every single day. כי תשוב אל השם אלוקיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך. אנו רואים כאן תיאור כרונולוגי של מה שיתרחש בארץ ישראל. There's a chronological order of what will take place in ארץ ישראל. השלב הראשון הוא שיבת ציון בקיבוץ הגלויות, השלב החומרי. Has that been happening? Absolute, more than ever in the history? Without a doubt. Fully? No. But has it been happening? Yes. Let's just... Nachon. Why is it so slow? Only Hashem knows. But is that a shlav? 100%. You could never say this till this generation. ואחר כך באה התשובה, השלב הרוחני, and only after that comes the tshuva, the spiritual process. Is that happening? It's a very non-convincing.
It's starting.
It's a process. Shlab.
Amen. Now, why am I saying amen so badly? Because now look what he says. רק לאחר מכן תבוא מכת מחץ על כל האויבים. Is that those things, those enemies that don't allow me to live this type of life so peacefully and safely, only after the second shlav of the Ruchani, only afterwards, it'll be an amazing, amazing thing that then the enemies will have a makat machatz. You know what that means? Like a... Yeah. The big... Yeah. The crush. A crushing hit. Benatayim. But in the meantime, ha'oivim makshim al binyan ha'aretz. In the meantime, look what it takes to put up a new building somewhere in Eretz Yisrael. והם יוסרו רק לאחר שיתחיל השלב השני, and this will be removed only when the second shlav begins. Only when the second shlav begins, with this amazing shlav that we're waiting for, where our enemies will fall on their own swords. Alavai will take place, but that will only really begin, just like we were so certain by saying that the first shlav is taking place. I know that we believe, because we're trying to look at the good, right, about the second shlav. But I'm not talking about non-religious people when we're saying the second shlav. I'm talking about people, like I always tell you, that are under the assumption that they are in a relationship with Hashem because they're Orthodox. That, to me, personally, is a whole world on its own. The Mahapecha is not about getting people that don't keep Shabbos in Tel Aviv to keep Shabbos. That's not the revolution. They're part of it. The revolution is religious institutions that think and they're under the assumption that what we have until now is enough. Mamash. This is a huge mapet. I know you're an exemption, you're Cleveland Chinuch, I know it already. We've spoken about it many, many times, but I'm talking about Batmuna Gdola, and you all know what I'm talking about. You all know what I'm talking about. We should be zocheh that as we're learning the words of the prophecies, alavai, that we should understand and internalize. But I also ask Hashem for Rahmanas. Rahmanas means pressing the fast forward button on the pain. Rahmanas means, okay Hashem, just jump me there, and then come and I trust that you'll explain to me the whole thing. I'm trying so hard. We've been trying for thousands of years. It's like no one should say, well, I'm not ready for the Geula. I still want to understand every single shlav, right? At least I'm in the parsha of trying to understand every single shlav, seeing how it flows, seeing how it shows up. Just like when someone once told me, Mashiach should come even if it's a woman and it comes on Shabbos, because we know a few things according to Chazal, it's not a woman and it doesn't come on Shabbos. So I said to the person, why are you saying it? It should be a woman, it should come on Shabbos. He said, because it doesn't matter. When Mashiach does come, they'll explain to us how any of it could have been, any of the things that we don't understand will be possible. Meaning, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it should be an end of suffering. It should be an end of concealment. That's what matters. That there should be health and clarity and prosperity on both levels, chumri and ruchani. We're going to have one more shir this week on Thursday, preparing for Rosh Hashanah. This we're going to get back to. Not even a Seit Tshuva, because Seit Tshuva on Sunday is Erev Yom Kippur, I believe. Nachon? Yom Kippur is Sunday night?
Yes.
Okay, we gotta daven strong on what we've learned until now, and we'll get back to this the first opportunity we have after the whole Tkufa, Bezrat Hashem.